All right, so if you've ever flown, I'm willing to bet you've stared out that little window at the massive pod hanging under the wing. And you've probably wondered, what is actually going on in there? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that incredible marvel of engineering.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? How does that thing work? Because it's so much more than just a metal tube. It's really the heart of modern aviation. It's this incredible powerhouse that somehow combines brute force with amazing finesse. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it gets tons and tons of metal off the ground and into the sky.
Okay, so the hero of our story today is the turbofan engine. This thing is the standard for pretty much every modern commercial airliner you've ever been on. And for a very good reason, as we're about to find out. It's just this brilliant piece of design that grew out of earlier, much simpler jet engines. So what exactly is it? Well, the easiest way to think about it is as a really clever hybrid. It's one part pure jet engine and another part, well, a giant super powerful fan. And that combination is really the key to its success. It's what makes it so much more fuel efficient and way, way quieter than the old jet designs. All right, now let's actually look inside.
Okay, so before we follow the air on its pretty wild ride through this thing, we need to meet the key players inside. You know, getting a handle on these 5 main parts is the first step to really understanding how this whole system works together so perfectly.
So right up front, you've got the big fan. That's the iconic part you can see from the terminal gate. Right behind that, you have the compressor, which, you guessed it, squeezes the air. Then you get to the fiery heart of the engine, the combustion chamber. That's followed by the turbine, and trust me, we'll see why this is the real unsung hero in a bit. And finally, you have the nozzle at the very back. Try to keep these parts in mind because we're about to put them all into action.
All right, now for the main event. The entire process, believe it or not, can be boiled down to a really simple 4-word mantra. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's it. This is the fundamental cycle that turns air and jet fuel into just immense amounts of thrust. So let's follow a single little particle of air as it goes on this incredible journey.
Okay, so the cycle kicks off when that giant fan sucks in a massive amount of air. Some of that air gets funneled into the engine's core where it gets squeezed by a bunch of compressor blades, making it super hot and really, really dense. Next up is the bang. Fuel gets sprayed into that hot, compressed air and boom, ignited. It's basically a continuous, controlled explosion. And finally, blow. This super high-energy gas blasts out the back. But, and this is where it gets really clever, it has one more super important job to do before it leaves.
And this is the absolute genius of the design. It's a perfect self-sustaining loop. As that hot exhaust gas roars out, it blasts through the turbine, spinning it like a crazy powerful windmill. And that turbine, it's connected by a long shaft all the way back to the front of the engine, providing all the power needed to spin the compressor and that giant fan that started this whole process. It's just a beautiful closed loop of energy. Okay, so we've just covered the suck, squeeze, bang, blow that's happening deep inside the engine's core. But remember how I said the fan splits the air into 2 paths? Well, that second path, the air that doesn't go into the core at all, that is the real secret to why these turbofan engines are so amazing. Yeah, this is the whole concept that gives the turbofan its name. While the core is busy doing its whole fiery explosion thing, the majority of the air that the fan sucks in just flows around the outside of the engine. It's in a channel called the bypass duct, and when I say majority, I mean a huge majority.
And this relationship is measured by something called the bypass ratio. It's actually a pretty simple comparison. It's just the amount of air that goes around the core compared to the amount of air that goes through it. And the actual number for modern engines is probably going to surprise you.
In a modern high-efficiency engine, that ratio can be 10-to-1 or even higher. Just let that sink in for a second. That means for every single particle of air that goes through that whole violent combustion process in the core, 10 other particles are just casually cruising around the outside.
So think about what that means for the actual thrust, the force pushing the plane forward. A whopping 90% of that push comes from the bypass air. The hot, fiery jet core, it's almost just a really, really powerful motor whose main job is to spin that giant fan at the front.
So let's just compare these 2 air streams for a second. You've got the bypass air, which is cool and moving relatively slowly, and this creates quiet thrust. Then you have the core air, which is scorching hot and moving at incredible speeds, creating powerful but really, really noisy thrust. The magic of the turbofan is all about how it combines these 2.
So the big question is, why do all this? Why this complex design? Why go to all the trouble of bypassing all that air? Well, it all boils down to 2 huge benefits that have completely changed modern air travel. First up, fuel efficiency.
It's just basic physics, really. It takes a lot less energy to move a huge amount of air slowly than it does to move a little bit of air very, very quickly. And the bypass design does exactly that. And second, it's so much quieter. That giant blanket of slower, cooler bypass air wraps around the screaming hot exhaust from the core, and it acts like a natural sound muffler, making the whole engine dramatically quieter for everyone.
And really, that's the biggest takeaway here. The next time you're at an airport and you see that giant fan spinning up, remember, its main job isn't just to feed the fiery beast inside the engine. No, that fan is the main event. It's the primary mover, creating almost all of the engine's quiet, efficient, and powerful thrust.
Look, the turbofan engine is an absolute masterpiece of engineering. It truly has defined the jet age as we know it. But of course, it's not the end of the story. The very same principles of efficiency that we've talked about today are the foundation for whatever comes next in aviation. Which leads to the big question, right? Where does all this innovation take us in the future?